All right, we're cooking the Snake River Black Packer brisket on a Weber Kettle. So most of you guys have a Weber Kettle on the back porch. If you don't, it's one of the most versatile grills for the money that you can buy. You can cook anything on it. They're inexpensive. I think the last one that I wound up giving away was 26 years old, only because I got a new one, and I got a bigger one. So I got the 26, that's what we're gonna cook on today. But first what we're gonna do is trim it. And I hear people say, why you gotta trim a brisket if it's not for competition? Well, because trimming a brisket makes it cook more evenly. It's not just about appearances. If you see here, we've got a little bicycle ramp going on here. And what happens is we've got a real thin end here and we've got a super thick end here. While we can put this in toward the heat and speed it up on this end, we want it to cook fairly evenly. Weber Kettle cooks great when you set the fire up right. So what we're gonna do is just trim this down. So we're gonna knock this bicycle ramp down, and I'm not worried as much about how much I cut off of this. We're gonna use this trim, whether we put in burgers or whether we eat carne guisada or whether we make beef tips and gravy. There's so many different things you can do with this. It's almost better than the barbecue brisket itself. I don't mind cutting meat off of it. So get that out of your head. This is not a yield contest. This is a cooking contest. We want it to cook evenly, just like it's at a contest. So we've got this big old chunks of fat. And when I get in here, I'm just gonna keep my knife nice and level. And we're gonna take a lot of this fat off of the decal side, off of the fat side. Now we're gonna take some meat off of it too, because we have to get rid of that ramp. So I'm gonna turn the knife and I'm gonna come to you and I'm gonna take a lot of that off right like that. And so at this point, I've gotten rid of most of my ramp. Now, if I've got a little extra fat on this side, it doesn't bother me. I don't mind it. I can cut it off after it's cooked, but some of this caramelized fat is so good, I really would like to leave as much of it as I can. It just makes for an awesome bite. So I'm gonna try to get it down to where, you know, it's a manageable amount of fat. And a lot of people will say quarter trim. Well, that's 1/4 inch trim. And, you know, if we can get to that, that's fine, but we'll see. So I'm gonna take all this down, and I'm not throwing this away, don't worry. So we're gonna even this dude up. See what we got here? A little of the decal there, and I've got a little bit more right here. Now, fairly even. Now these edges are oxidized. I'm gonna take some of that oxidized edge off. We'll still use that in the other, but I want this to be a nice pretty slice edge. And this will crumble when it's oxidized like that anyway. And we want it to cut down also so it's gonna fit inside the Weber Kettle real good. So I'm just gonna cut the edge off of that and even that up. Now as far as what I've got down here, this little thin end, it's gonna overcook and it's not gonna be very good barbecues, but it'd be really good in a black pot. So we're gonna take that off and we're gonna make this thing sort of aerodynamic, if you will. And so I'm just gonna come in here and make a nice little oval cut around. And then I can turn this direction and I can do the same thing. And it just makes it kind of aerodynamic so that the heat flows around it nice and even. Now then, I've got a rag under this just to keep it from sliding around. If you see that, that's just to dry it off, but also to keep it so I'm not chasing it around this board. So in order to reposition, if I slide the board, that's fine, but I don't want the meat sliding. So I'm gonna set it on my rag. Now, we've got this kernel of fat. We're gonna come in here and remove it. Now, if you notice I was cutting toward my hand, I am until I get close, and I'll move my hand over. It's just a little more control for me. Rather than pushing away, I have a little more control doing it this way, but unless you're used to running a knife like this, I'd recommend going away because it can pull through and you can cut yourself. So you see me cutting a little of this off, it's just because I'm straightening it up. All this little bit of fat here, if it's easy to get off, sure, I'll take it off. But if it's a lot of trouble and it goes down deep in there, I'm not gonna dig in there and get it out of there. So I've got that little kernel of fat. I'll go ahead and take it off because it is not going to render out. It's just too big and too thick. And so now I'm almost ready. I'm gonna come around here and take that big chunk of fat around there. Now, we are trimmed down pretty good. As you can see, we've got a fairly even thickness now. It still tapers a little, but we got rid of the real boat paddle end of that thing. So I'm gonna do that. A little extra fat. This is that separation between the decal and the flap. No big deal. I don't mind those little fatty slices on the end. Those are great. So, simple brisket trim, y'all. That's how you do it. Really, contest or backyard. These trimmings over here, y'all, are most excellent in the black pot. Braised or fried and braised or all the way around. It's good eats for barbacoa or tacos or gravy. Don't be afraid to cut this off so your brisket cooks right. You want these slices right, and you want that right as well. So always take care to make sure your brisket cooks nice and even, because all your trimmings are just as good in the afterlife of it. So on to the injection part of it. We're gonna whoop that up. We'll show you how to do it. If you're gonna cook a brisket, go on and inject it. People say you don't have to inject. No, you don't have to inject. You don't have to put salt and pepper on your food either, but this makes brisket better. Bottom line. One of the things about injection is this Moisture Magic. Now this you can get in any brand. This is Cosmos Moisture Magic. Brifisol, B-R-I-F-I-S-O-L, or sodium phosphate. That's really kind of one of the active, that's what this is. It doesn't take a lot of it. In this amount that we're gonna make, it's about a teaspoon. There's already some in this injection powder already. We just like a little extra. I'm not going to use quite a quarter cup. This is Cosmos Smokehouse Reserve. I don't even know if you can buy this anymore. You can buy a ton of different ones from Butcher. You know, take your pick. LC. So there's a lot of them out there, and they all clump up and hard like this. So, no, don't judge. That's just how it does after a while. Wilsonshire, gotta have it. About a capful is kind of what I use. It's going to be right about a capful neighborhood. Beef consomme. 1 can. You can get the cheap stuff in a box if you want. It's okay. It's just not as good as this. And then I use the rest of it in water. This is a little blend jet. It's battery powered, rechargeable, USB. Real easy. You can sit there and mix it up by hand if you want. This makes it super easy. And that's all we need right there. She's blended up. So we're gonna go right into injecting our brisket, because we're gonna want this to set overnight. And you'll see people injecting and they're just got their hand on this brisket. You don't wanna do that. If you're putting liquid into it and you're moving it, you're pushing the liquid back out. It's like putting a sponge in the sink and then squeezing on it. Same thing. So we don't want to do that. We want to leave the brisket in a pan. We want it to stay there, and we want it to absorb and distribute this injection thoroughly throughout it. And it's just a simple process of kind of making a grid pattern. I like to do it with the grain. This is an F grip. We sell these on our site. You don't have to use this. You can use a Cajun injector. There's tons of different ones. Takes a minute to get it primed. Get the air out of it. Once you do, real simple, easy. We sell one called a BDI that's just a little bigger, does the same thing. And we're just gonna go, I like this one because it's sort of comfortable to use. And you can see I'm just making a grid pattern. Doesn't need a ton. When we wrap it, we're going to use the rest of that. We're going to add a little water to it, like I said. Finish that off. We can take our needle now and drain our needle. We're not going to waste any of that good stuff. And we're going to put this in the fridge here in a minute. Save that for when we wrap our brisket. Now, there she sits. So, as simple as this is, we're going to season it just as simply. Check it out. Seasoning this thing could never be easier. We got all the products that make it work. This is Texas Tornado. If you hadn't heard of it, that's because don't be worried, because it is new. It's a combination of Boar's Night Out, double garlic butter, white lightning, and sweet Swan of Mine Texas beef. That's the first thing that's going to go down on it. Now, you don't have to like batter it like you're going to fry it, but you need a good even coat, right? This has got all the goods in it. Now, if you want a little extra black pepper, and I might as well, I may put a little extra black pepper on it. Midwest Dust, kind of got that all-purpose flavor. Got a little bit of that Lowry's taste, black pepper, beefy taste, all around. Good seasoning for anything. And then that good old Southern Thunder that's only been out for about a year or so gives it that beautiful color, rich, buttery, beefy taste. We're going to get a great color out of that as well. Now, if you're wondering what I'm going to do to the other side, nothing. Okay, we're ready to put the brisket on the Weber Kettle. Now, this is sort of a souped up Weber Kettle. It's a Weber Kettle 26. And the way we've got this set up is we have lit a full chimney of charcoal and we poured it in a ring sort of on this side over here. Now the way we're going to handle this is that we're going to take a little of this, we're going to lift this up, and we're going to place a piece of wood or two. Now if you put it right on top, it's going to burn up like crazy. I don't mind that from the start with a piece right there, but we're going to stack our wood right there. Then we're going to go in here, and because the pan we're going to use for a drip pan is the same pan we're going to use to hold our brisket, then kind of have to do this in kind of a wonky fashion, but that's all right. So we're going to take our brisket and go ahead and lay it over here right where our pan's going. And then we're going to take our glove, we're going to go back here, and we're going to go under and get our pan in there. Why am I doing this, you might ask? A lot of fat. This thing can get really nasty really quick. So I'm just going to readjust and get my brisket right here in the middle. My fire's over here. I want to make sure that my heat comes across. I'm going to turn my exhaust over this way so my heat comes across my brisket. This thing was about 425 degrees when I put it on. I should be able to wrap it in less than 2 hours and get a great color. We got some nice smoke coming out already. We'll see what it looks like and may even have to flip it. We'll let you know. Time to wrap. We're just going to do it old school, butcher paper, keep it simple. Got a little bit of tallow here on the side, and as you can see, she's got a beautiful bark. I already started up right there. So I'm going to pull her off of there, just like that. I think I'm going to go ahead and flip her over. Look at there. We even got a grill mark on that sucker. So the way I like to do it is I'm going to take it, flip it around here, and I'm going to tuck it up under, right? After I get her tucked, I'm going to make sure it's nice and snug. I'm going to give it a fold, and another fold, and I can move this up under here like this, and I'm going to take my edge, and we're going to kind of try to seal this off, rolling this in on itself so it'll retain some of that liquid in there. Do the same thing on this end. This is kind of like sealing up a dumpling, right? Same principle. Seal it up nice and tight. And that'll help make that brisket hold in some moisture and make it cook nice and fast. We're going to put it back on there. We're going to go get us a probe, and we're going to set it back on here and let it go. And I bet you in another 3 hours or so, we're going to be real close. Check it out. We're still running 350 degrees right now on the 26 kettle. Got our vents about, I don't know, halfway or so open somewhere in there. On the same charcoal that we started with. B&B briquettes, one chimney full lit, 3/4 of the way full on one side, 3 hours, steady running at our target temp. So we're gonna see kind of what our internal temp's looking like. And we're just gonna go ahead and stick that in there. Get her covered back up. Look at the old tappy cue as she comes up. About 166 degrees in 3 hours. Ain't gonna be long. Okay, so the old tappy cue told us it hit 213. That's normally like butter, right? Especially if you've got it injected hot and fast. We just pull that probe out. Got a little Maverick action. The old Maverick showing right there at that spot about 208. I'm gonna turn it around. Go back that direction. It's gonna be 209. And what you're looking for here, y'all, every piece of meat's different. A good benchmark on hot and fast brisket's about 211 degrees. If it goes 213, usually it doesn't matter. You just gotta have time to cool back off. So you can't cut this brisket hot. It's gotta have time to rest. It needs to be back in that 150 degree range or so. You just want to where when you put the probe in, it goes in easy and pulls out easy. Check it in a couple different directions. It's super easy that direction. It may feel a little tighter against the grain than it does, you know, catty corner or with the grain. And so as I check it, a couple different directions, it's super easy in, super easy out. That's all you're looking for is easy in, easy out. Temperature is not always going to be the same. Remember, the faster and hotter you cook it, the higher your finished temperature. The lower and slower, the lower your finished temperature. The meat has to have time to break down either over time or with temperature, one or the other. This one, 4-hour brisket, hot, fast. But I'm telling you what, we're gonna give it a little rest time. We're gonna see how it does. It's gonna be good. Brisket is off, it's in the pan and it's rested. Now, if you've got time, rest it in a cooler. Wrap it in a towel in a dry cooler. It can hold, if you don't have tons of space in there, right? So try to use a cooler this will fit, wrap it in a towel or something so it doesn't get all greasy and let it sit there. It could probably stay in there 4 to 5 hours, no problem. But what you're looking for is about that 150 degrees, 160 or under. If you've got granite countertops and you're in a hurry, set it on the granite and it's gonna suck the life right out of it. This one's been sitting here maybe an hour and it's down to a sliceable temperature. So that's kind of what you're looking for when you want to slice it. You can hold it in cooler for hours. So you can slowly come down or you can bring it down real fast. Totally up to you and what your timeline's like. So I'm going to pull this dude out of the bag. Best thing to do is just cut it. If you go flipping it around, you're going to have grease everywhere. And there's juice in here. This held lots of juice. I mean, God. And so I'm gonna pull this guy out. Look at that. Beautiful brisket. She's got a little jiggle to her. She hit a pretty good number. And I'm gonna say for competition, I'd have taken this brisket a little higher. For what we're doing, it's just fine. We're not gonna eat it straight, make a meal out of it right now anyway. We're gonna probably gonna vacuum seal it in some portions and have it a little at a time as we need it. So this is the point end, this is the flat end. I'm gonna cut the end of that dude off. And you can see we've got that fat in between there. And so I'm just gonna 4-hour brisket, y'all. What? Now again, this is the point side and you see it's still got lots of fat in there. But that's the side I like the best. Look. That's so good. So we're gonna keep slicing. Depending on how thick you like it. And man, she just dangling, right? And then she pulling 4-hour brisket. I cook my brisket 12 hours, man. If you got 12 hours to waste, go on ahead, but I highly suggest you get your Weber Kettle out and inject you a nice brisket. The better the brisket, the happier you're going to be. And cook you one of these for the holidays. And watch this video, share it with your friends. God bless you.